First, I'd like to say that this is a fact-finding question and answer. If you answer the question, you're good. Even if you say, I don't know, okay? That counts, okay? First, I'd like to have prayer. Mr. Burke, would you do the prayer?
Yeah. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. God, we thank you for waking us up in this beautiful day in St. Tammany Parish. Lord, I just ask that you give us wisdom. Lord, give us discernment. And Lord, let all our discussions be in decency and in order, Lord. I just pray that we keep one thing in mind. That's what's best for St. Tammany Parish. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Mr. Phillips?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mary, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Rowling?
Here.
Ms. Kazamon? Ms. Seiden? Mr. Phillips?
Here.
Mr. Impastato?
Here.
Ms. Tanner?
Here.
Mr. Burke?
Here.
Mr. Kugel?
Here.
Ms. O'Brien? Mr. Laughlin? Mr. Bender? Mr. Strickland? Mr. Corbin?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. I think the first on our agenda is Annie with the overview of funds.
Oh, wait, let me make.
All right, good morning, everyone. So this morning, we're going to cover some things related to the 2026 proposed budget. The first thing, I'm going to take you through the budget book, but the information will be on the slides for you to look at, so you don't actually have to go through your budget book if you don't want to. Then we're going to take a look at the revenues, the proposed revenues, including the major sources of funds, sales taxes, property taxes. We're going to take a look at the proposed expenditures, which include personnel, operating cost, pass-through funds, debt and capital. Then we're going to do an overview of the proposed budget by fund. And of course, I have a few little cartoons for you, just like last time. So why bother to budget? So we can worry before and after we spend the money. And that is just me. I don't know about everybody else, but I worry all the time. All right, so the budget book, this slide here shows you pretty much the organization of the budget book overall. So the budget book has a table of contents. The introduction includes the budget message from President Cooper, a section about St. Tammany Parish, key initiatives, a budget overview, which has information on financial analysis, then the financial policies and procedures that are relevant to the budget, the operating ordinance, which is what is presented to you for adoption or amendment, some summaries, information on the funds and departments, and that's the largest section of the budget book, the capital ordinance, organizational departments for every, organizational charts for every single department, and then some supplemental schedules. And I'll show you a screenshot of what every single one of those is, and we'll go a little bit more in depth on each of these items. And of course, we have the dogs back again, and they've done lots of research, and they still cannot find a way for us to forward that cat. So if you remember last time, it was a little Chihuahua, and he couldn't find the money either. All right, so this slide shows you kind of the introductory section of the budget book. So if you kind of follow that counterclockwise around, the very first screenshot, and I don't think this thing is going to let me, oh, no, it like gets up there, the little pointer does, but it kind of doesn't stay up there when it gets to the monitor. So on the left-hand corner up there, it says St. Tammany Parish Government 2026 Operating and Capital Budgets, Introduction Budget Message. That section right there is that table of contents, and that's the very first page of your budget book. And so it includes every single page that starts a new section in the budget book, and that's basically your reference guide to find all of the funds and all of the departments within the budget. Going clockwise up there, you'll see the section that says from the parish president. That's the budget message from President Cooper. And so that includes information on the budget that we're submitting to you for 2026. And that's on page 2 of the budget book. It's 2 pages long. Next is the St. Tammany Parish About Our Parish section, and that's on page 4. Following that, on page 7, is the President's key initiatives for 2026 on page 7. And that highlights several key focus areas that were included in development of this budget and reaffirms our commitment to delivering efficient and effective public service in areas that matter most to us, such as infrastructure, environmental stewardship, community services, public health, and economic development. The last thing on this screen in the bottom right-hand corner is the page that starts the budget overview, and that's on page 12. And that's the narrative overview and analysis of the financial information in the budget. And that's actually what we'll go most over during this budget presentation. The next slide has the financial policies and procedures. That starts on page 28. And that's the information that's relevant to the budget that we submit to you, and it's selected financial policies and procedures because it's not nearly all of them that we have. Page 34 is the operating ordinance, and that is the adoption instrument that is submitted to you. That is what you will either amend or adopt, and it is a higher level. You'll have to go through the summaries that begin on page 44, the funds and department schedules, to get that greater level of detail to be able to drill down into the sources and uses of funds. On page 44 begins that summary section, and there are summaries of total revenues by type, by fund, expenditures by fund, by department, expenditures by object classification, and then there are even matrices that show you cross sections of expenditures by fund and department and object class. So there's quite a lot of good information there. So if there's something you think you want to see specifically, let me know and we can talk about it because it might already be there. So this last, nope, this isn't the last slide on the budget book, sorry. This next one shows you the section that you're going to find on a fund. So you'll find the information on a fund, and Louisiana budget law requires us to provide specific information for the general fund and for every special revenue fund. And so beginning on page 66 are those required schedules, and they show information about revenue by source and then expenditures by agency, by function, by department, and by character. So you basically see the expenditures 4 ways. So I don't want you to think that the expenditures are that large, because it's just 4 times that you're seeing the expenditures presented, because that's what's required by budget law. After the expenditure, after that expenditure summary for the fund itself comes departmental information. And so for each department, there's a summary page. You'll see there an example of the parish council's page with Mr. Impostato's happy face. And it says, about our department, it provides the mission and function, the funding sources for that particular department, information, a 3-year look on the personnel services, budget at a glance, which provides what the total dollars are for the 3 years for like personnel services, operating, and capital. And then if the department does have any capital requests for the year, it will provide that information as well. Then behind the departmental page, it will have the detail of every single account and the request for that department. So that's new this year. That's not been previously presented, and that's what takes up the majority of the budget book. So you'll be able to see every single account in this budget. After that comes the capital section. And so there's the capital ordinance, just like the operating ordinance, which is that adoption instrument. And then behind that is the administrative comment, which gives you the information on every single project that's in the ordinance. And it gives you the scope and status, as well as they're following that an appendix, which has the 5-year infrastructure plan in it. So there's very detailed information on the 5-year plan as well, showing what the costs are and when things are expected to commence. After that are the organizational charts, like we mentioned, for every single department. And then there's 5 additional schedules for additional information on sales and property taxes, the proposed debt summary section. Then there's information on the budgeted cost allocation plan, as well as a 5-year summary on the cost allocation plan to show you what each fund paid in cost allocation plan charges. Finally, there's a manpower report that shows you a 3-year trend by department on what the personnel counts. And then there's a fund budgeted schedule that shows you the budgetary fund balances by fund. And we'll actually go through that as well during the budget presentation. So that's an overview of the budget book and where you'll find the information at. Does anybody have any questions on the budget book itself and where things are located, or if there's something you would like to see? Okay.
Just really quick, Annie, I know there's a lot of improvements you made to it, and it was definitely noticeable. I want to thank you for all the hard work you and finance did. The descriptions are super helpful in the departments about their specific needs, and having those operational departments with the actual fund to make that connection of where it's being funded as is really helpful. So I just want to let you know we appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I agree with her, Annie. It's a great job. Lots of reading, but it's a great job.
Thank you. But once again, if you do have any questions, we'll be glad to, if not now, later on, sit with you and go through anything just to help you understand where something is at, or questions on what something means. So please feel free to reach out and ask. All right, so now we'll take some time and go through the different revenue streams that are in the budget. So, oh wait, this is my last cartoon, so 3's my number. Genius is 1% inspiration, 99% budget allocation. I'm not sure that that's really true, but it does make me feel better that I spend a lot of my time on the budget. The combined budget for revenues in this 2026 proposed budget is $180.8 million, and you can see by funding type in this pie chart that general fund sources are less than 10% of the proposed budget at $16 million. The majority of the funds are in special revenue funds and in our capital project funds, and of course the majority of that actually comes from sales tax District 3. If you move down to that bar chart beneath it where it shows by source and type, then you can see that the taxes and fees that are restricted for a purpose that says dedicated is almost $115 million of that $180 million, which is mostly sales tax. The majority of the funds are, of course, dedicated or restricted, be it either property taxes, sales taxes, or some custodial funds that we receive on behalf of the court system. Then we have self-generated funds that are for utilities and development. And then we have some other money for environmental services, leases for the buildings that we collect, and then followed by the general fund revenue. All right, on the next slide, continuing on revenues, we have a comparison by source and type between the 2026 budget and the 2025 amended budget. And if you take a look at this chart, you'll see that there's a significant decrease in the property taxes for other agencies. And so what that is that in 2025, we had budgeted to receive money, a transfer from the coroner's office of $14 million. And so that's why there's a significant decrease there. The taxes and fees for a restricted purpose, there's an increase of about $5 million there, and that's the expected increase in Sales Tax District 3. So we expect Sales Tax District 3 to increase by about $5 million in the budget. So we're looking at the collections to date from 2024 and 2025 in order to make that potential budget. The proposed budget, yes, sir.
Aston.
Okay, so you showed an increase there. Is that something that could be used then towards, like, for the Justice Center and the DA's office? Is that extra money there, Sales Tax District 3?
No.
Or does that have to stay in the...
So Sales Tax District 3 funds can only be used for roads, bridges, and drainage.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Laughlin.
Thank you. Annie, could you go back one slide?
Yes, sir.
All right, this one I'm a little confused on. So where are the sales tax District 3 funds in this pie chart?
They are in the special revenue funds and the capital funds.
Okay, how do you determine which portion of the pie to put it? How do you separate them?
It depends on what costs they're being used for, if they're being used for operations and maintenance, or if they're being used for capital projects.
Okay, but if I simply just add capital funds 48.6 and 62.4, that is more revenue than just sales tax District 3, correct?
Yes, sir. That's because special revenue also includes the property taxes for like animal services. It also includes some of the custodial funds that we receive for the court system. So there are other things that are considered special revenue. The majority of the funds that we receive are actually special revenue funds.
So can you give us the breakdown then just of sales tax District 3 funds?
Yes,
much?
I have a slide on that
Gotcha.
further along.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, this is quite high level right here. So there's some specific slides later on the general fund and sales tax District 3. There's not much change on the custodial funds. On the utility revenue, there shows a decrease of about $6 million, but what that is during the 2025 budget, if you recall, we budgeted bond funds of $7 million because we took out that loan from DEQ for the Goodby wastewater treatment plant. So actually, if you back that out of the budget analysis, there would be about a 4% increase in the budgeted revenues for utilities, which is typically normal that we budget about a 4% increase over time. Development's a little bit less. We have a declining fund balance there, and based on collections to date, and we tend to budget more conservatively there just because permits and things like that are based on economic trends, and we don't want to overestimate the revenues that we think will come in. So if you look down at the bottom, we actually have a a pie chart there as well for you to show the ad valorem by agency type from the 2024 final grand recap, just so you can see that the parish general fund revenue from ad valorem was almost $7.8 million, and that was only 2% of the total ad valorem for all agencies parish-wide, and the special revenue, which is for animal services and Coast and Stark, was 2%. So just wanted to point out to you that, total 4% out of the total ad valorem that's collected parish-wide. The $30 million that is shown there for 7% of the 2024 numbers are for are for the library and the coroner. And the coroner, that tax expired in '24, so we will no longer have a funding source for them in the budgets from 2025 forward. The next slide shows you some more information on ad valorem. So at the top of the page there, you can see what the rates are for all of the millages that we collect, whether they're on our behalf or whether they're funds that we pass through to other agencies. And it also shows you what we budgeted for proposed revenue in 2026 by ad valorem type. We are budgeting for the same millage that we levied in 25 for 2026 at this time. So that's that 2026 budgeted rate column. So parish alimony 2.89 and 1.44, drainage maintenance 1.56, animal shelter 1 mil since that was increased this year, library 4.35 based on what it was recently renewed at, and then council on aging and Stark at 1.69.
If I can pause you for there, 'cause
Sure.
I think that's an interesting point. So you're budgeting for revenue for property tax where the rate won't be set until next year. So you have
Yes.
to make that assumption of what the council or the other governing body, depending if it's the library or someone else, or not the library, but are going to do.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay.
Yes, so this is my assumptions based on what it is today, and so the expenditure budget then is based on that revenue. So to the extent that the council does not adopt these same millages next year, then we would need to amend the budgets as necessary during the year based on what millages are adopted. And so I do want to point out, too, that we budgeted for a 1% growth rate on those dollar figures that are shown there. So that's 1% based on, so we took 2024's actual collections, we added 1% for 2025, and then we added another 1% for 2026. So we try not to add too much because, once again, we want to be conservative. We don't want to over budget the revenues and then not have enough to cover the expenditures.
And that is very conservative because I'm sure when they come in, it'll probably be about 5% or more. You think?
I don't.
It depends on the fund. It depends on where it is, I think.
Well, so we don't actually budget for any growth in the limited areas like lighting districts or parcel fees. We don't budget for any growth there just because it would be
Where they
unusual to have any growth there. But for parish-wide, we do 1%, just because. Plus, we don't know what's going to happen with change orders and things that may fall off the roll, as well as where the people had the 4-year adjustment period for those people who had the increases, so they didn't have all of their property, their increases put into the roll last year.
Mr. Phillips?
Just for an example, like when the millage got raised in the middle of the year, say for animal services, did they get it for the whole year then, or just from that point in time?
No, it's for the whole year because taxes aren't levied until the end of the year.
So if we did that in the middle of the year, they'd go back to January and give the total amount for the year?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So moving along from ad valorem to sales taxes, the next slide shows the sales tax rates and the proposed revenue for Sales Tax District 3 and Highway 21 for next year. It also has below that 2 bar charts that show you the actual collections for each of the years. For the past 10 years, and the amounts that we budgeted for 2026 or proposed to budget are based on a historical review of collections. And we budgeted no growth for next year in either one of these sales taxes because, once again, we want to be conservative and we're not sure what's going to happen in the economy. It seems like things are continuing to increase, but I just feel that they can't continue to increase at this rate. I'm nervous that things are not going to continue at this rate. For Sales Tax District 3, the graph is shown net of the tax that's shared with the municipalities, so you can see what actually our share is that we have available for expenditure purposes. Please note that both of the tax rates, the authorized levy period is only through 2031, so we'll have to see, address both of those taxes. All right, so now we can take a look at the expenditure side of things. So the proposed budgeted expenditures in total before other financing sources and uses are almost $197 million. And the majority of that, once again, is in our special revenue funds and capital projects. If you take a look below that, then you can see the expenditures by character, and you can see the majority of the expenses, which isn't surprising, are pretty much split evenly between personnel services, operating costs, the pass-through funds, and infrastructure. The expenditures that are classified as pass-through include things such as the sheriff for the jail, the library, the coroner, the district attorney's office, Coast, Stark, and the municipalities as part of the sharing arrangements. This is probably really hard to see on the screen, but maybe easier to see on your page there. and it's in your book on page 47, and this shows all the expenditure by character. And so for total, then you can see that the total salary and benefit budget is about $46 million for 2026. And then you can see what it is for each one of those varying objects. And so if you take a look at all of those below, you'll see that there are some significant decreases. So professional services is down over $800,000 from 2025, and that's because 2025 included studies for housing, comprehensive rezoning, water and garbage. Supply costs are budgeted to go down by $530,000 across categories including office, general, grounds, janitorial, medical, sign materials, tools, and building supplies. Property insurance is budgeted to go down $390,000. Maintenance of equipment and vehicles is budgeted to decrease by $270,000. Maintenance of facilities and grounds is budgeted to go down by $200,000. There are some increases, though. We do expect utilities and waste collection to go up. We're expecting utilities to increase by about $400,000 across all buildings. There have been cost increases per kilowatt hour per service. We expect computer licenses to go up. That's budgeted to increase by about $300,000, as well as network maintenance, which is also computer-related costs, by about $240,000.
Excuse me, Annie.
Yes.
Mr. Corbett.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. On the previous page, Annie, I'm sorry to go
Sure.
back. Internal service, what is that?
So that is the buildings. So those are like Coop, Towers, EOC, Tyler Street. Those are the buildings where the tenants are mostly parish government agencies or other governmental entities. And so it's an accounting mechanism where we accumulate all the costs of those buildings, and then we charge them out to us as tenants. And so the line items for those costs show up in each one of our budgets as facility operations and maintenance charges.
Is there a reason why that went up by a factor of 7? Between, I don't understand. I guess that it shows that on a previous page at 1.1 million and 1% by fund, when you revenue by fund type, and then it shows it here at 7 million and 3%.
I'm sorry. So the revenue is for external. So some of the buildings have external tenants who pay rent to us.
So that's okay.
So the 1.1 is the external rent that we receive.
Okay.
And the $7 million is the cost of those buildings, whether it's utilities, security.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
that.
Is most of the rent in safe haven? That's one factor.
About $500,000 or $600,000 is in safe haven.
Okay. Mr. Laughlin?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Annie, are any of our tenants behind in their rent, or is everyone current?
I don't think anyone's behind. Everybody should be current. I mean, there's occasionally where somebody might get behind a month, but we watch that every single month. I look at receivables.
And more specifically, in the case of the Towers building in Slidell, where are we? Are we breaking even with our tenants, or are we still shouldering the majority of the costs?
So I'd have to look at what the square footage charge is to operate the building versus what the tenants are paying. That's what would really determine that, because we do have, it's not completely rented out. We have internal tenants to the extent that the clerk's office has space there, the district attorney's office has space there, the registrar has space there, so they don't pay rent for that.
Gotcha. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Rowland?
One question based on his question. You said it's not all rented. Why isn't it being actively rented, or maybe trying to rent? Or
what I'm saying is that it's not all externally rented, that we have internal tenants.
Right. But
So
do we have empty spaces there now currently, right?
Julian?
There's one little space on the sixth floor, floor of the floor that's unfinished area. Other than that, every other space is rented out.
It is, okay, good.
Let me just say that on the mic, just so people at home, because Julian's not on the mic, is that most of it's rented except a portion of the sixth floor, which is unfinished.
Thanks for the clarification. Thank you.
Let me see if I can get back to this. All right. So I had went over the decreases and the increases in some of these operating expenditure accounts, as well as the infrastructure, the capital assets, the debt. We'll go over that in future slides. Does anybody have any questions on any of the object codes or accounts that are shown here? If not, we can discuss it, when you've had time to look at it. Just briefly on personnel, there is a summary on page 18 that shows the proposed position count for 2026 as compared to 2024 and 2025's original adopted budgets by department. And then, of course, there are the organizational charts that are in the back of your budget books. The only proposed budgeted new position for 2026 is a jail position in the facilities management department. And then, of course, Cindy is going to speak to y'all further on HR, payroll, and benefits after my presentation is done. So this is all I plan to go into on personnel. All right.
Oh, Mr. Laughlin.
Annie, to go back one slide, the total personnel and benefit costs, those are just our internal, correct? Those are
that actually also includes the cost for some of the agencies, the 22nd Judicial District Court, the Registrar of Voters. We pay for very small costs related to the clerk, for jury, the ward courts, the JPs, the constables, City Court of East St. Tammany.
right.
So,
Do you have what our number is? Because I mean, I know we're kind of responsible for and you're accounting for it, but we're not paying the whole $31 million. We don't have direct control over that, or do we?
when you say direct control, what do you mean?
So if you're, for example, on page 47, your personnel services under salary actual is $31,179,218.
Mm-hmm.
That is, how much of that is under our direct control, meaning it's Parish President Cooper sets it, versus these are just accounting, these are...
Okay, I understand what you're asking.
Yeah.
Yep, I can get you that information.
And just off the top of your head, is it significantly different? Like, because I think one of the hardest things for most people to understand is how limited the scope of the control that our parish government has over all of the parish budget.
Mm-hmm. So that number is probably in the $3 million range off the top of my head. But I'd have to, for the 22nd JDC, I'd have to...
So what I'm just getting at is like significant chunks would be taken out of that figure.
I don't know that it's, I mean, it's millions, but it's not, it's probably in the $3 to $4 million range.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, so on debt, the debt here shows you that we have 6 debt issues that are outstanding, 2 for Sales Tax District 3, 1 for Go Mesa, and 3 for the utility systems. Overall, debt is budgeted to go down because this year we were able to pay in full the coroner and the library, so those debt issuances are no longer outstanding. We did have a new debt issuance for DEQ for the state revolving loan for $7 million for Goodby, which is the last one that is presented on the slide, that last column. And the debt, just so you're aware, for the utility system is presented in the utility fund. That's an accounting requirement because of the way that the utility operations are considered an enterprise fund. They're a business operation. So Sales Tax District 3 and Go Mesa have their own separate debt funds. All right, expenditures for capital. So we have a table here for you so that you can see that the total capital expenditures budgeted proposed to be budgeted for 2026 is almost $53 million, and that includes 168 different items. It includes 92 infrastructure projects, 29 facility projects, and 47 capital asset purchases. And then the pie chart shows you where the sources of funds are coming from for each of those different projects and or asset purchases. Of course, the majority of the funding is coming from Sales Tax District 3, which is about $46 million or 87% of the capital budget. There are some other smaller sources. The next largest source is from the drainage ad valorem, which is $4.7 million. All right, on the general fund, the 2026 proposed budgeted revenue for the general fund is right over $15 million. It's pretty stable. It was $14.7 million in the 2025 budget. The general fund revenue sources, the largest sources include ad valorem, occupational licenses, cable franchise fees, insurance licenses, and then interest income. The other large source you'll see here is transfers in, because we're proposing to transfer in $6.1 million of one-time funds in order to help cover state mandated costs. This includes $3.5 million of capital project funds from Deepwater Horizon, the Justice Center sales tax, the jail sales tax, and ARPA grant funds. Also $1.9 million of general fund balance from 2024 excess fund balance, and 2025 projected revenue in excess of expenditures, and then $617,000 of funds that we were able to replenish because we received funds from OCD from Hurricane Ida as the match.
Excuse me,
Sure.
Mr. Laughlin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Annie, just one really quick question. Under interest income, that is also regulated by the funding source, correct? So like if it's interest off of Sales Tax District 3 money or interest off coroner's money, that does not go back. Can that or can that not go to the general fund?
Right, that is regulated by the source. So if the interest was generated off of Sales Tax District 3 money, it stays with Sales Tax District 3. If it was generated off the coroner's fund balance, it stays with the coroner. So the interest that goes to the general fund comes from general fund sources.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome.
Mr. Rowland.
One last thing. I know you mentioned something about Ida. There was some funds from Ida. What does that look like forecast in the future? Is there, how much money is still going to be coming in, or when does that kind of look like it's going to run out?
So we only have a handful of projects related to Ida that are left. Mm-hmm. Anything related to debris and emergency protective measures is done now. So that's over with. The things that we have left are like the fishing pier. We have some project related to the barn. We have, they're very small in nature besides the fishing pier.
So do you think, and if you don't have this is okay, but if you have it, that's great. What type of monies are we looking at? Is something
So none of it will impact the general fund.
Okay. Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, thanks. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right. The next slide I have for you is on the expenditure side of the general fund. So this shows to you what are our state mandated costs that we're budgeting to proposing to budget for 2026 versus the things that are other expenses that are going to be borne from the general fund that we're proposing for 2026. The orange bars are the state mandates, the green are the other expenses, and you can see here that we were able to fund about $22 million from the sources that we had available in the general fund, and that was from recurring funding of right over $15 million plus one-time funds of $6 million. The actual requests in the general fund were $54 million. We used cost allocation plan charges of $16 million to reduce that, and then that gave us a net expenditure request of $37 million. And so there's a deficit of funding of $15 million that we were unable to fund. That deficit is shown in the administrative comment to the operating ordinance in your budget book. So on the general fund, you can see here, this shows you the beginning fund balance, the revenues and the expenditures, which that revenue number includes the one-time money, the net change, and what the ending fund balance is, as well as our minimum policy, which leaves us with an available fund balance projected at the end of 2026 of about $46,000.
Annie, does that make you very nervous? It makes me nervous.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yes. So the minimum fund balance policy includes several items here, and there's a reason for each one. The minimum fund balance policy includes 1 year of gross ad valorem, which is $7.7 million. And all of these requirements are due to cash flow needs. For ad valorem, it's because we don't collect that cash until basically the next year. So even though I budgeted to receive this revenue in 2026, I won't get that cash really until 2027. So I have to reserve all of those funds because they're not available to cover expenditures. 4.5 months of other taxes received quarterly, $936,000. Once again, I don't receive that money monthly. It's not like it's always there for me. So I have to reserve the funds because I don't always have them available and on hand. 3 months of all the other revenue sources, $1.3 million. Cash flow for amounts held by others pending litigation and receivables, $350,000. So I have funds that have already been recorded as revenue and go into my fund balance, but I have not yet received those funds from certain agencies, $350,000. Cash flow for the assessor and sheriff. So according to state law, we are required as a parish governing authority to upfront some costs for these agencies and then bill them to the agencies on the tax roll. So we cash flow those needs, and then a year later, we basically get the money back from all of the agencies on the tax roll. So I have to do that. As well as for the JDC and for our grants department, we cash flow their payroll needs. So the 22nd JDC has, where basically their payroll agent in a sense. We pay all of their payroll, and then for their specialty courts, those are funded by grants. So every month we bill the 22nd JDC, then they bill their grantors, and we have to wait to get reimbursed for that payroll.
Excuse me, Mr. Phillips.
Between this slide and the previous slide, the sheriff is saying he's waiting for some money. Is that identified in here? Is that where we're seeing, he said that we're short money paying him over the year?
I'm not sure how much we can talk about this.
So we're talking about the 2026 budget, and we're going to have executive session later today to talk about the jail
All right, thank you.
specifically.
Mr. Laughlin.
Yes, sir.
Terms, this is the equivalent of like minimum balances we have to keep in our bank accounts, correct?
Yes.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Grants billed on a cost reimbursement basis. So the majority of our grants, we don't receive the money in advance. We have to pay for them and then wait to get reimbursed. And so I don't have the money just sitting there to be able to do that. And I can't use the money from some other funding source. It's not like I can take the money from Sales Tax District 3 and pay for these things. That's wrong. I can't do that. So I have to use the money from the general fund to do that. And then I need money for cash flow for contingencies in case there is another IDA or something like that. And I need to pay for a hurricane or something like that up front. And so $500,000 for that.
And I think we have cut that in the last couple of years.
Yes, ma'am.
It was much more than that, but we've cut that.
Yes.
Mr. Carbon.
Yeah, thank you, Council Chairwoman. On the cash flow for grants, isn't that one of the ones that Ms. Cheryl was mentioning that we cut? Wasn't that $2
Yes.
million last year and we cut it to $1 million?
We've cut
Yes, sir.
both of those items,
Did
yes.
did that cause any issues?
It hasn't yet, but it possibly could in the future. We have to manage that very carefully.
I understand that you have to do that, but I just want to make sure that we hadn't put any undue pressure on you all in making that change last year.
It hasn't yet, but because we've had cash flow at this point in time. but it's something we have to manage.
I just want to mention, in addition to the cash flow in the general fund for grants, we do have it in environmental services as well, specifically for the water sector funds.
Yes.
Okay. And I guess my question would be, maybe out of order, Sean, how are we on billing and getting receivables in on grants? Are we up to date? Are we behind?
We're currently up to date. I mean, we are, there has been a little bit of a slowdown with the federal situation that's going on. So when we were made aware of that, we went into all of our federal agencies and we put the draws in, so they're all in the system. So once the federal systems go back up and there are people there to pay, they're ready to go when they need to go. That's mostly for HUD, entitlement, EPA. The GOSEP system, GOSEP will generally, they have a similar situation where we have, where they can fund cash flow. So those payments are moving at this time until, I guess, GOSEP gets into a situation where they can't, but hopefully things will be resolved before that happens. So currently we should be on schedule. Our biggest receivables are with water sector. That's $80 million worth of projects, so there's a lot that goes on with that. But currently we should be okay.
Okay, and when you do a drawdown, I know there's no one at the federal right now, but are they asking for additional information? Because I've found out that, and I manage one, and I understand that you may ask for a drawdown and give them information, and then they will email you and ask for a page of documentation.
They can do that. They have every right to ask, for whatever. But
So it slows
currently
down.
we haven't had a situation where we've had to give them, they're holding it for something extra that they don't normally ask for. So we're status quo at this point.
Okay, get ready for that, it's coming. Thank you.
I'll put my seatbelt on.
I'm sorry, Annie.
Oh, that's all right. All right, so after the general fund, we have the majority of our funds, which are special revenue funds. We actually have 26 active special revenue funds. All of special revenue funds are legally restricted funds. The funding sources are restricted to a specific purpose. On this slide here, you'll see what the minimum fund balance policy is for the funds that are shown. We have 2 slides for all of the funds for special revenue just because there's so many. The available fund balance in some of the funds are available there for capital project needs as they arise, whereas others may be just for operational needs. Public Works, and Highway 21 Economic Development, the minimum fund balance policy is 3 months of revenue because it comes from sales tax. And so the vendor collects sales tax in 1 month, the next month they remit it to the sheriff's office, and then the next month the sheriff remits it to us. So it's a 3-month cycle to get those funds in. For drainage maintenance and animal services, the minimum fund balance policy is 1 year of revenue because it's ad valorem, so it takes 1 year to collect those funds. Environmental services and CRT, it's 4.5 months of revenue because it's based on fees or taxes that are received quarterly. And then for the judicial courts fund, it's 3 months of revenue because it's based on fees for services. And so it usually takes about 2 months to get those funds in. So just to follow our regular policy of at least 3 months, that's what we do there. The judicial courts fund is used, and you'll see it has the lowest available fund balance there at right over $2,000 based on the proposed budget for next year. It's used to fund payroll costs for the 22nd JDC as part of our funding our state mandate obligation to them. And so we're using it to help fund all of the costs that we can for them next year. Bless you. So, and I will point out on rooms to go, they do not have a minimum fund balance policy. That tax ended several years ago. So we are just looking to use the available funds there on a qualifying project in that economic development district, to use those funds up once we can. All right, so this next slide is Sales Tax District 3. The Sales Tax District 3 funds are reported and accounted for in that Public Works Fund, Fund number 100. The proposed budgeted sales taxes for 2026 are $94 million. We also expect to collect about $6 million in other funds, be it between the State Road Fund, some other taxes, cell tower leases, interest income. So we have a proposed budget of about $100 million in available funds in the Public Works Fund. Below that, you'll see a funnel that shows the uses of funds for Sales Tax District 3. Those sources will be used for operations and maintenance and smaller capital projects that are under $100,000 at the barn level, and that totals about $35 million, which is 35% of that $100 million. This includes cost of personnel, supplies like gravel, sand, hot mix, the cost of utilities at the barns, equipment for staff to perform their road repairs and maintenance. Then you also have $35 million in capital projects that are shown on the capital ordinance. We're actually doing more than that, but the rest of it is coming from fund balance in the Public Works Fund. Of the tax collected, $15 million is shared with municipalities in accordance with the sharing arrangements, and they're required to benefit the citizens of Sales Tax District 3. Taken together, these three top figures account for $86 million, or almost 86% of the budgeted funds, which is our total investment in roads, bridges, and drainage for the 2026 proposed budget.
Excuse me, Annie.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes, Annie, if you could, other than the interest, you get $94,000 for sales tax collection, another 6.6. Other than the interest, the state road fund and other taxes, where's that money coming from?
So the state road fund comes from the state. They have, state of Louisiana, it's about $1.6 million a year. It's in that range, 1.5, 1.6, and it's for road maintenance. They have a sharing program where they allocate money to each of the parishes.
And once again, that would be considered dedicated revenues.
Yes, yes.
We can't do anything.
We cannot use that
other
money, and
than
there is even-
use it the same way we use it.
There are state laws on that money, and the Legislative Auditor's Office actually has a white paper on those funds.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Impostata.
Annie, do you have a breakdown of the operations and maintenance expense?
Yes, not on the slides, but if you look at the face of your operating ordinance, it shows you the departments that are included in that $35 million. And then if you want to break it down further, we can help you do that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Laughlin.
Annie, just to oversimplify this, to use look at your funnel, the operations, maintenance, capital, that's us doing the work ourselves, correct?
Yes, we may contract out some of that,
But for the majority,
smaller capital
yeah.
projects, but
But then the pay-as-the-go is basically projects that we can pay in cash.
yes.
Because the sales tax is set to sunset and there's not enough years left in it, we basically have maxed out our credit. We cannot bond out. We have to pay for anything we do with
Yes,
cash.
yes, we don't have the ability to issue debt at this time.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. We do have existing debt service, though, that we do have to pay off, and so that's about $6.6 million. And that actually is a prior investment in capital infrastructure because it was debt taken out to pay for capital years ago. We have cost allocation plan charges, which are actually administrative support of $6.5 million, and that's used to cover the cost of shared support services such as finance, HR, technology, procurement. It includes parish administration, council, legal. Without the shared services, public works, other departments, they would have to have their own administrative support like accounting and finance, which could be duplicative. And then last in the funnel is the Sheriff's Commission. They receive 1.15 per the tax collection agreement as part of their work performed in their duties collecting the tax. All right.
I thought I read somewhere where the cost allocation was more like 70%.
Yes, that is incorrect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. President Cooper?
I too was going to emphasize the cost allocation is, as noted here, is 6.5% of the total of the revenue that we receive for Sales Tax District 3.
Thank you.
All right. All right, so that was Sales Tax District 3. These are the remainder of our special revenue funds, and the top three there are what we consider our pass-through funds. It's funds that where we levy a tax on behalf of some other agencies. They don't have the authority to place a tax on the ballot. They must come to us, and we work with them on that. The coroner, the library, council on aging, and Stark. For the coroner there, the expenditure budget is for property insurance and the cost of CECs, where we have to pay other parish coroners' offices for the work that they perform. And there's no active tax, so there's no minimum fund balance policy there. For the library millage, you know, we just renewed that. So that's the estimated revenue that we, based on that 4.35 mills that we expect to collect for the 2026 levy and what we would pass through. And then for Coast and Stark, the 5.5 is based on what that millage was this year, the levy, and what we would pass through.
Excuse me. Mr. Phillips?
For the coroner, how long is that going to last through?
We expect it to last through the end of 27, early 28. So we'll have to take some kind of action or figure something out in 28, because at that point in time, if we don't have any other funds, their funding would have to come from the general fund as well. You're welcome. I do want to point out Coast and Stark, their millage expires in 2028, so that is the last year on their current levy. And in your budget book for those agencies, when you go to their funds in the budget book, you will see the budgets that they submitted to us. So they're in your books as well. The next four funds are what we consider judicial funds or our custodial funds. So based on state law, the parish government is required to basically act as a banker. We receive the money and then we pay it out based on what the judicial system tells us. So the criminal court fund is held on behalf of the 22nd JDC and the district attorney's office, and it's used to defray the costs of criminal court. The 22nd JDC commissioner fund is used to fund that position and any related cost. The jury service is used to pay the cost for jurors in criminal court cases, and the law enforcement witness fund is used to pay off-duty law enforcement officers for their appearance at court. We will need to work with the court system for the jury service fund. You can see the available projected fund balance after next year is only $1,700. There will not be sufficient funds to pay jurors in 2027, so we will need to work with them on the court fines and costs that are used to fund that in order to help have sufficient funds to pay jurors for criminal courts. So the next funds are all of the lighting district funds, and so if they have an active tax levy, whether it's a parcel fee or a millage, they have a minimum fund balance policy of 1 year. If the tax levy's expired, then we don't have a minimum fund balance policy. And then you'll note lighting districts 4, 9, and 16 also have budgeted election costs, since they're on the ballot to possibly renew or add back their tax or parcel fee. All right. Debt service funds, we talked about these a little bit earlier when we talked about debt. We have the two funds for Sales Tax District 3 and Go Mesa. Their minimum fund balance policy, what they have there, anything is restricted in accordance with the bond documents. And typically the minimum fund balance is basically a timing issue, because whatever it is the cash that we've transferred into that fund for the upcoming debt service payment, the semi-annual payment.
Annie, can I ask you one question about the Go Mesa funds? Because when I was looking at the different debt service funds, this is one where we haven't drawn down everything we're approved to borrow. Is that correct?
No, we've received all of the Go Mesa money.
Okay. Gotcha.
So we've received all of the Go Mesa bond funds, and we're currently in several projects with that with Randy and Ross to do all kinds of coastal work. The way this works is a little bit different from some of the other debt services. This is bonded out, and it's against future revenues received from the federal government. Grant proceeds, basically.
Okay.
So it is only to be paid back from those sources. So it is not bonded out based on a tax or anything that we have. So we only have to pay back based on the grant proceeds that we receive. So we don't have any other liability on that, which is great. And so we pay back based on the federal proceeds that we receive. Based on that and the interest earnings that we get, in November, we can turbo redeem debt. So half of the money that we receive in excess of what was projected for that year will go to turbo redeem debt, and the other half will come back to us to continue to do projects. So for the past 2 years, maybe 3, we've been able to receive excess funds. So we've actually gotten extra money, more than we anticipated, and we've already turbo redeemed some of the debt. So this debt was actually supposed to be paid off in 2045, so we'll pay it off even earlier than that based on where we are at today.
When is the sales tax?
The sales tax debt is due in 2031. It's with the
It
tax.
expires when the tax expires?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, the next type of funds are the enterprise funds. We have one for utilities and one for development. And we consider these enterprise funds because they act like a business. We need to get in money similar to a business enterprise where we are charging enough to cover our costs. We consider these like user fees. And so we need to have enough money to get back enough to cover capital costs, depreciation, so that we continue to add back into capital, like for new projects for utilities. The minimum cash policy for both of these is 3 months of operating costs, and we say cash policy on these rather than fund balance because enterprise funds don't really have a fund balance. It's a different method of accounting. So for both of these, you will see that they do have more expenses than revenues, but we anticipate that that will turn around because for utility operations, Chris will be coming to y'all with the rate study. And so we anticipate that rates are going to change, revenues are going to increase, and that will outweigh the expenditures. And then for development, Ross is currently working with Nick and Daniel to go through their rates as well to see where they may need to realign anything.
All right. Ms. Sodden.
I just had a quick question. How long have we been in the negative with utilities?
Well, so it's just a budgeted negative, so I'd actually have to look back at all the years and see, because when they actually come to the end of the year, it's not, the revenues usually exceed the expenditures. Plus that includes like depreciation, so there are things in there that are non-cash charges, so cash is always a positive. So plus their revenues exceed their regular expenditures, like without cost allocation plan charges, they would be positive. So it's kind of, yeah. Gina said they're helping to support parish government because they help cover cost allocation plan charges. So, so I have to do some more digging to give you a better answer on that question. I do want to point out that utilities doesn't have any projects in the 2026 capital plan, but they do have projects in their 5-year plan because we're still working through all of those ARPA and water sector projects. So, you know, the ARPA projects, we have until December 31st, 2026 to finish those projects. All right, my last slide. Not sure where I was supposed to be at on timing, but here we are. So this is for those internal service funds that we talked about earlier, where we're accumulating all the costs of the buildings. We use these to account for the operations of the government buildings. And so we allocate all the expenditures that are captured here, and then we charge those to the user departments like finance, council, administration, and they're called facility O&M charges. And it's based on the square footage that each one of us occupies in these buildings. And so for each one of these, we say that the minimum cash policy is 100% for repairs and maintenance, because we need to, you know, make improvements to these buildings. They are aging and they have needs. And Julian will speak more to the 2026 projects and the capital ordinance and, you know, the status of things when it's his turn. You know, due to, you know, the way things have been for the past several years, the facility O&M charges are based on operating costs. So we have not included the cost of capital improvements or depreciation into those facility O&M charges. So we've been operating based on kind of like a status quo and not building up any fund balance. We've actually been using our fund balance or our net position there for the buildings over the past 6 or 7 years, so that we would not be burdening the general fund for parish government. So you'll see that most of them have a negative net change there, and that's because we are charging just what it is to cover the cost, and then as they have capital projects or significant repairs and maintenance, those are coming out of the fund balance. So you'll see those as the projects are discussed later today. And then if any of the buildings have unoccupied space, we don't subsidize the cost of that through any of our fund balances in the general fund or special revenue funds.
Any questions? Thank you so much, Annie.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay. Do you have to switch out some equipment? Okay. Next on our list, personnel. Cindy, you have a presentation if they hand it out. Okay.
Can you hear me? Okay. So I'll be covering 3 major areas: compensation, benefits, and personnel, and touching briefly on other areas covered by the HR department. Today we'll talk about the functions of HR, the services we provide to the parish, the compensation study, salaries and compensation, personnel and positions, and benefits. These are the primary duties of the HR department. We wear a lot of hats, but we're committed to providing the best service possible to St. Tammany Parish government and to fostering an environment that supports the employees who in turn serve the citizens of St. Tammany Parish. Our HR team is phenomenal. Cindy Samuel just joined us from Utilities as our HR manager. Alyssa is the senior HR specialist. Carolyn is our HR specialist. Michelle manages our payroll, and Tricia is our support specialist. They all do a wonderful job and go above and beyond every day. The 2023 compensation study was implemented last year and was a big step forward. Our last comp study was completed in 2014. It's recommended that these studies be done every 3 to 5 years, depending on maintenance. I'm going to talk for a little bit about the comp study, what that maintenance entails, and why it's important. As indicated on the previous slide, there's no set it and forget it option for the salary tables. Without annual maintenance, the accuracy of the study and tables is undermined and they quickly become obsolete. So the question is, how do we ensure the integrity of the salary tables? The short answer is we tie them to an objective, supported, and trusted metric. The CPIW is a measure published monthly by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. It tracks the average change over time in the prices paid for a market basket of common consumer goods and services. This basket includes expenses like food, housing, transportation, and medical care. Basing our salary table adjustments on this metric is crucial for several reasons. First, by tying the compensation adjustments to this index, we ensure that our employees' wages keep pace with the rising cost of living. This allows them to maintain a stable standard of living and protects their financial well-being. Second, using a standard transparent index like the CPIW helps ensure fairness and removes subjectivity from the salary adjustment process. It provides a consistent data-driven approach that is essential for recruiting and retaining skilled employees. Offering compensation that keeps pace with inflation is critical to attracting and keeping talented staff. When preparing the parish's budget, the CPIW provides a credible and reliable benchmark for forecasting personnel costs. By using a measure trusted by economists and government bodies, we can present a financially sound and well-reasoned budget proposal. In summary, linking our salary table to the CPIW is not a discretionary action, but a responsible and well-supported strategy. It's the most accurate way for us to ensure that our employees receive fair and competitive compensation that's not diminished by the effects of inflation. I won't go through every metric or measure of inflation that's available, but I'll point out that 88% of St. Tammany Parish government staff is non-exempt, meaning they're paid hourly. Also, based on the previous several years, the CPIW appears to trend slightly lower than the CPIU rate. I also think it's interesting to note that history indicates a prolonged pattern of 2% COLAs and one step annually, which occurred almost automatically with no indication that inflation was a consideration. And this dates back from like the early 2000s until probably around 2014, 2015. This practice was during a time when inflation was frequently less than 2%. What's interesting about that is that our current situation is probably uncharted territory for most of us, meaning we don't know yet what will happen in terms of employment trends, recruiting, retaining talent, etc., if inflation continues to outpace COLAs over the next few years. This graphic shows the CPIW rate for each year since 2022. In the bubbles is the CPIW rate. At the bottom are the St. Tammany Parish COLAs. For context, consider that the Social Security Administration approved COLAs of 8.7% in 2023, 3.2% in 2024, and 2.5% in 2025. That's 4.4% more than St. Tammany Parish government over the past 3 years. This is a point-in-time comparison of COLAs compared to inflation each individual year. This graph doesn't show the cumulative effect, but we'll look at that on the next slide. As you can see from the chart, COLAs trail 1 year behind inflation. This slide is probably a better visual since it shows the cumulative total of inflation versus applied COLAs over the last several years. And this is the last slide with our judgmental guy there on the left. This slide shows an example of a current employee's starting salary who received only COLAs with no merits over the last several years. The salary of this particular employee is above our average, but it's a good example of how the disparity grows.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Corbett.
Excuse me, I want to go back a couple of charts to the COLA versus CPIW cumulative view. How does the compensation study and then the changes we made based on that compensation study, does that show up in this chart?
I addressed that later on in another slide, but really when we did the compensation study, I think there were approximately 112 salary adjustments. Those adjustments were only made to the people who were below the minimum.
Okay.
So that brought them up to the minimum. And that did, and again, I have that in a slide, but it kind of closed the gap a little bit for the ones that were on the lower end. But those that were above the minimum on the compensation study, they didn't receive any increase as a result of the study.
Right. So my only point is, this chart doesn't show that at least for that 100 and some odd. I don't even know what percentage that is of our total employment, but for those people, it's not reflected in that chart. It's also not reflected in the next chart where you show the two diverging. Is that correct?
Yes, the one with the example of the salary is an employee who only had COLAs and no merits. So that person's salary was not affected by the compensation study.
Okay.
Since they were within the range that was determined for that grade.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. The HR department processes approximately 120 terminations each year with corresponding new hires. We're averaging 13 rehires and approximately 100 promotions and transfers each year. We process approximately 40 payrolls annually, including biweekly and monthly, with a very high accuracy rate. HR processes over 800 benefit enrollments and terminations annually, including open enrollment, new hires, and qualifying events. We have one new position proposed for 2026. We've worked with department directors to help modify org charts to maintain and improve efficiencies, and we can conduct analysis when needed to help optimize available budgets to reach individual departmental personnel and compensation goals.
Excuse me, Mr. Laughlin?
Thank you, ma'am. What payrolls do you run besides ours?
Our payroll that we run includes the 22nd, it includes the external agencies, the 22nd JDC, the jury commissioners, Slidell City Courts, JPs and constables. Those are all included in the payrolls that we run.
So we've managed a way to consolidate
Yes.
everything through
Yes.
your office. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Smith?
Yes. Could you please give me a description of the one new position proposed for 2026, please?
That position is a contracts manager position, I believe, for the jail. So it's a facilities position.
Will that come up later in the budget? Okay, with jail budget, right? Okay, thank you. Continue.
Okay, I was told this graphic is confusing, but I left it in because I guess I'm kind of mean. The comparison here is between new hires and our total overall population. There's nothing wrong with hiring in at the bottom of a grade, especially if the new hire has limited or no experience. However, it's been a very slow growth from there. 71% of new hires enter at the bottom of the pay grade. Once outliers are removed, almost half of all current employees with 1 to 7 years of service remain at 0 to 1% of the salary grade. Of the 87 employees with 5 to 9 years of service, approximately 1/3 remain below 5%, with most of those at 0%. Of these 87 employees, most are equipment operators, maintenance specialists, or utility maintenance specialists. The average tenure for all equipment operators is 6 years. Maintenance specialists is just over 4 years. Utility operators is just over 5 years, and utility maintenance specialist positions is about 2 years. It's also interesting, the average tenure for animal care techs is less than a year. Animal control officers is 1 year. Sorry, this is another slide, but it's not meant to be deciphered. The bottom is years of service, while the left side is where the individual salaries fall within the salary range for the relevant grade. The purpose of a scatter chart is to visualize patterns. What's interesting here is that a pattern typically emerges where, generally speaking, movement on the salary grade is tied to tenure. While not always the case, it should be more the norm than not. I would like to point out a few positive points. The average tenure for local governments is 6.4 years. The average tenure for all public sectors is 6.2 years. As you can see in the chart, ours is just a little over 7 years. And St. Tammany Parish government tenure has decreased slightly, but remains relatively steady for the past 4 years. It's not a cartoon, but I do have or it's not a funny cartoon, but I do have an image anyway. We'll shift now to benefits. Here we have our loss ratios and renewal rates for the past few years. It's not shown on the slide, but our renewal increase for the 25-26 plan year was just under 10%. Sorry, having a little technical issue. Medical premiums have been trending upwards and are expected to continue to do so. The Louisiana has approved premium increases for the following insurers: Blue Cross Blue Shield of Louisiana at 32.5%, HMO Louisiana at 12.2%, and United Healthcare at 23%. These were rates that were approved for the ACA marketplace. The Office of Group Benefits, OGB, has approved 7.75% rate increases for Blue Cross Blue Shield, Pelican, and Magnolia Health plans. Businesses are bracing for a 15% average increase for employer-sponsored plans. So this chart, and it's probably easier to see on your screen than it is on, so this is our loss ratios for the last couple of years by month. As employees meet their deductibles and maximum out-of-pockets, these monthly figures will begin to shift. It's also important to remember that plan design and deductible changes were made to the 25-26 plan year, which began in May. This could go either way. There could be an adjustment period reflected in the May and June loss ratios shown here, or we could see sustained improvement. We'll be starting our pre-renewal meetings in the next month or so and should have an idea of the renewal rates probably the beginning of next year.
All right, excuse me. Mr. Rowland.
Yes, one thing on your other slide with the premiums. How often do we get that quoted? Is it once a year or once
Annually,
renewal?
yes.
Okay, so it is. Do we go to the same companies every year to get another quote, or is it just, if we get 3 or 4 quotes, or we go to someone different the next time?
We have our broker, Gallagher is our broker, and they go to all the major players in the area. Any of them that are willing to quote us, we shop them. And they negotiate our rates. We meet and discuss plan design and benefits. So we look at every option on the table every year.
When is that typically done?
We'll be starting our pre-renewal meetings next month, and we should be renewing at the beginning of the year because we have an off. It's not a calendar year. Our plan year is May to April.
Okay.
So yeah, it'll be probably. In fact, I think we have our first meeting set up for next month.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mr. President Cooper? Annie? Okay, I'm sorry. Annie?
I just wanted to say that due to the nature of the market, we did not include any increases for benefits in the projected budget for 2026.
Okay. I understand, but that's scary.
Yes, it is.
Mr. Laughlin?
Thank you. Have we considered any level funded or self-funded options?
I am not super familiar with level funding. I know that it's kind of a hybrid between self-insured and fully funded, but that is one thing that I'll be talking to the broker about to get more information on that.
Well, because I know our neighbor across the street saved $500,000 by switching.
Wow, okay. Yeah, we definitely will be getting information on that.
Because I know, I mean, I use the insurance. I was talking to my colleague right next door to me. I mean, our insurance is expensive.
Right.
And I mean, it's good, but
Right.
it costs us a lot of money. So I think we should look into level funding or do some type of hybrid of self-funding our insurance to see if we can save some money.
We'll be looking at every option on the table.
And then, Annie, a question. If we're able to save let's just say, for example, we're able to save $1 million in health insurance premiums, can any of that go back to the general fund or work its way back?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
It goes back to whoever, it follows the employee.
Oh, okay, so it would go through the employee back to the department?
Yes.
And then, gotcha. All right, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Two things, Mr. Laughlin. When you start looking at self-funding, when you start looking at how much expenditures are going out, self-funding is a high risk, but I'm sure they will go through that. There's, the more the expense goes up, it's a much higher risk, and so.
At the same time, our insurance is $1,500 a month. That's $18,000 a year.
Well, I think they should look, but it's very risky at what I'm seeing on these charts, okay?
Right.
Like even with 9 stints, I wouldn't spend that much money a year for healthcare.
Okay, Mr. Pistada.
Yes, ma'am. On the cost of living increases, see, 2022, it's 5%, 3% in 23, 2%. What was the merit for those years?
I believe there was a 1% merit pool. I would have
Every
to
single
go
year?
and look. I believe it was 1% merit pool per year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Corbett.
Yeah, how often do we recompete our broker?
We went out, I believe, within the last 2 years. We went out within the last 2 years and got proposals. I think we have another 2-year renewal option with the one that we have now. So we've been with Gallagher, I want to say maybe 3 years, 4 years maybe. But we have, since we initially went with them, we have gone back out for quotes again.
Okay, and do we have information about how much of a fee they get?
No, sir, I don't have that information, but I can find it for you.
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe for a 4 or 5 year window?
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Mr. Smith.
Yes, I've got a lot of experience with this. Gallagher is a pretty good brokerage firm, but Jeff, I do agree with you. As often as possible, we should put our requests, and it goes to all brokers, and let them come to us, explain, because they do have some variance in their commissions that they pay. Gallagher's, from past experience, has always been very, very competitive, but it's, things are subject to change. So I'm in agreement with what you all are suggesting. You can't just sit pat, you got to keep shopping, okay? There's a difference between having comprehensive coverage versus author over there suggesting maybe a different approach. You need a lot of money to do that because you are rolling the dice, and you over there with your non-stents, you'd probably bankrupt us. So that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Continue, please.
Okay, so everybody loves a good acronym, so here you go. HR is responsible for meeting all these requirements and more. I just thought I would throw that in there. We recognize and appreciate the budgetary constraints facing the parish. HR's 2026 budget is essentially a standstill budget. Expenses were reduced where possible. We're committed to meeting all compliance requirements while our forward-thinking HR team is looking to the future for opportunities to improve efficiencies and service delivery. And this is just a recap, pun intended.
Mr. Corbett.
Yeah, I did have another question. You know, Councilman Impastato brought up the question of cost of living raises. Have we ever looked at an option, for example, that for lowest paid employees, that they get a cost of living raise increase, and that cost of living increase is not uniform across all classes of employees? For example, I did some math yesterday, and $35,000 employee versus a higher level employee at a 2% cost of living, some of the higher level employees fundamentally get $3,500 is to what 2% would be, whereas a $3,500 employee might be $500. And it seems like there may be opportunities, if it wasn't uniform, for some very large cost of living increases are going for the people that make the most money. And I understand that they've earned what they're making. But if we also want to bring up I think you said 70-some% of people that are getting paid hourly wages, there may be an opportunity to do that by not having uniformity in our cost of living across the whole workforce.
I think there are a couple of points. I think when the compensation study was initially done, as I said earlier, the employees that were below the minimum, they were brought up to the minimum. So that did offer some kind of relief for them. I think that more than the higher paid and lower paid employees, it has to do with where they fall in the range. And I think maybe that might be a way to look at it, would be to look at those that fall perhaps in the bottom 10% of the range. We can I would be happy to meet with you, and we can look at numbers to see where that would fall out.
Okay, but as far as like all the acronyms you put up, as far as you know, there's nothing in those acronyms that would preclude us not having a uniform cost of living across all employees, are there?
Not necessarily, no. I think a COLA by its nature would be across the board.
Well, you could rename it.
I'd be happy to meet with you and talk about.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Laughlin.
Have we considered, to build on my colleague's question, have we considered, instead of doing a COLA, just doing a one-time bonus, so that way we don't have to have the legacy of the permanent salary increase?
I don't believe we're allowed to do a bonus.
No.
Yeah, as a
Sometimes I
government
hate
entity.
being in government. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, did anybody else have any questions?
Okay.
It's never too early for a Grinch reference.
Thank you. Mr. Phillips?
Can you elaborate then, because I was going to ask the same question. You know, Joe brought it up, Jeff brought it up, Arthur brought it up. Just go over the different ways people can get increases in pay or bonuses or whatever.
Yes, there are several different approaches that we could take. And again, I would be happy to meet, with you guys to discuss it. In addition to identifying, a percentage in the salary range, you could apply a COLA to the salary tables and then bring anybody who fell below up to the minimum, which would be kind of, in a sense, a repeat of what happened with the compensation study when it was implemented. There are many different ways that we could approach it.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Next is technology.
So I just want to let everybody know, I'm going to hand y'all a sheet that kind of goes over all the assets that is in the budget. I'll be honest, Annie has not checked my work yet. So I'm going to give you to this. I think it's completely comprehensive, but I'm sure when she has time, if there's adjustments that need to be made, we'll do that.
Do we have Grant? Grant, press your microphone button. Let's see if I could get you on. Okay. Whenever you're ready.
I'm ready, whenever you guys are.
For some reason, it's, oh, you can go ahead and plug it in.
What's that?
You can plug in your laptop.
Okay. Access controls? All right. That's not great. There we go. Let's do it that way. All right.
When you're ready.
All right, so this year we identified access controls that were almost 20 years old at the parish. We identified all the buildings that need, I guess, potential upgrades with that. It's an end-of-life system. Control boards are no longer being manufactured. The last time the vendor had some in their supply closet, and they told us the next time we need control boards, as Justice Center was the last time we had an issue, they'd have to go to eBay or some type of secondary market to find control boards for the access controls for the buildings. The software is vulnerable. It's no longer getting updates. So we really have to lock it down, so which limits external controls on the, or external ability to modify. The badges can be replicated fairly inexpensive with products bought on Amazon on the free market. A few of y'all, I handed y'all in about 10 seconds, copied a badge, handed you a copy of your badge to be replicated. That product cost about $13. So we have, we've had 50 on-site visits in the last 3 years for maintenance on the system. Replacement parts have to be salvaged, so we're having to now go to, like I said, secondary markets to buy the hardware for this. The offsite control is a cyber risk, so we have to lock the system down completely. We can't actually allow remote access. So if Julian's crew, someone's got to come in or connect to the network directly, then go to multiple extraordinary measures to update systems. It's cost us about $130,000 over the last 3 years as far as service calls to maintain because it's out of warranty. There are 262 control boards, which are no longer supported, 52 operating modules, 528 readers and keypads to scan badges, or the scans on the doors, and there's 22 buildings where the system is currently operating. Broke down the locations, sent a spreadsheet out, Mary's got it. We could fund this as a whole, or we could fund it by building and just have a 2-badge access system as we roll through and try and upgrade all the buildings. So it could be done in a phased approach if we choose to. The new system, this access control system integrates with the same camera system that we have. It's standardized across most governments around here have it. The state capitol just implemented a very similar system. Jefferson Parish, this is kind of the standard operating for moving forward for a modern system.
Okay, let me interrupt you. Mr.
Yes, ma'am.
Corbett?
Yeah, I looked at the list of buildings. Is the jail not on there? I don't see it on there. Do we not have?
I don't manage the jail. Would have to ask Julian. This is facilities and IT with this.
Okay.
No, the jail is not included in that access system that we control.
Okay, is this, I've thought it had similar issues.
They have issues with their MTI system, which is the security system that controls the opening and closing of the cell doors and stuff like that. I think it also integrates with the camera system that they have. But we do not control anything along those lines for the jail as far as door access and whatnot.
That same MTI system is in the basement of the Justice Center.
Okay. But will we not be doing that soon?
That is one of the projects for the jail capital budget. I think further down the line, maybe a year or two out.
Okay. Would it be not cost effective to integrate that into this?
No, it's because it's going to be a different system than what we're proposing here.
There's no economy to scale by adding that too.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So the MTI system, it's a single vendor that has access to do it inside of Louisiana. So we're locked into a single pricing model. This we're actually we're able to put the competitive bid and use state contracts on.
Mr. Cool?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. So Grant, could you go to the last slide? This one? So the future version, is it something like are you doing anything, is it biometric, two-factor authentication, passkey, is it some combination of that?
This one is you can utilize your phone with it. It's very similar to what you see at like the gyms and these other systems.
Okay, so it's like a passkey?
It would be it's going to look like a badge.
Okay. So if someone forgets their phone inside or doesn't have their phone, then they're going to have...
You can utilize your phone, you can utilize a badge. You'd have multiple ways of
so you can use
You wouldn't be locked in.
So you'll still have a photo ID on you as well to identify...
Yes.
That okay. And difficult to replicate badge. And what you're doing right now with the fobs, that is just an interim thing?
So the fobs I just used to demonstrate how easy it was to replicate.
Okay.
That's not an intention to utilize the fobs going forward. I just want to show that I bought that for $30 on Amazon. We were able to replicate in about 10 seconds and use those fobs. I can recode them as many times as I want. Just walk up to somebody, scan it, copy it, and now on you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Laughlin?
Grant, so you were doing it for an example, so that is something you could probably do covertly.
Absolutely.
So you could walk by somebody, scan their badge, and then
we could turn if we turn the power up on that. I could do it within about 5 feet. If I cut the speaker wire, you wouldn't hear a beep.
Wow. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Grant, for telling the whole world how to do that. Okay, continue. Thank you. Oh, Mr. Corbett.
Yeah, how long will it take to implement this?
This would take probably 3 months to get all the buildings. We just did the camera system here. I think the camera system happened over about the same time period.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And the installation vendor is located in the parish.
Any other questions? Grant, any comments?
No, I just think we should at least look at replacing this over time. If we can't do it all at once, a phased approach, but it's something that needs to be done for security of the building.
Is any part of this in the budget or?
We did add it to the budget.
So
it
this
is in the budget.
The whole amount is in the budget?
Yes, ma'am. The entire amount's in the budget. I gave you a spreadsheet that Mary's going to pass to everybody. That's broken down to cost per building. So you could break it down any way that you choose to, and we just would potentially have a two-phased badge. We'd have an old badge and a new badge until everything was converted over.
And then it would be allocated out by the buildings, correct? The cost of this will be allocated out for the buildings through the rent and so forth.
Oh, do it again.
So the original cost to do this is not going to be allocated out. It's going to be borne by the fund balances or the net position of the buildings, unless the building is like a barn, which will be funded by sales tax. Or animal services, then it's going to be funded by the animal services millage. Now, the annual operating costs, that will be part of the facility operations and maintenance charges that are charged to all the tenants.
Okay. Mr. Kubel.
Sorry, Grant, one more thing. You said, so the state legislature, this is what the system they're using now?
So the same vendor, I believe this is going into the Capitol building. So they put the Vigilon system in, the camera system in, as well as, my understanding is the same access controls.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Smith.
Yeah, thank you. Grant, just for education for this caveman over here, because I'm not into this technology. Is it pretty much the trend that in technology today we're getting more bang for our buck? The prices continue to come down as far as what type of service is being provided? Or not? Is this stuff just... basically, we're replacing the system. Is this system more cost effective, and initially is the price comparable or less than what we did when we implemented the old system?
Yes, I think if you look at the cost, I think it's probably relative inflation. They tend to stay the same, but you're going to see an increase just because of inflationary cost. I think the integration features that we're going to get within this, where you could actually have a camera system, say more secured areas, you could actually integrate the camera system where you'd have to have a face ID with the badge. So you could look up and you would have to have a face that matched the badge that was walking in, which would eliminate the ability for someone to clone a badge or just copy it or grab it. So there's multiple security features built into this. But costing wise, I think if you go look at when they did this 20 years ago, I'm sure it's going to be very similar.
Gotcha.
Based on inflationary numbers.
How long will this system last? I mean,
the current one's lasted 20 years. It's going to last till you replace it.
I mean, it's with the technology. I'm just wondering, with the technology changing every day, will this be something that we have to look at 5 years or 10 years or?
I think it's something we need to continue to look at. Security changes based on what's happening in the world around us. The hope is to get more than 10 years out of these systems. Like I said, we've gotten almost 20 out of the current one. That would be excellent if we can get that. But anything we do is going to be an improvement to where we are today. So I think, you hope to get 10, 20 years out of it.
All right. Mr. Rowling.
Yes, one question. I like the face recognition part, and also...
Well, that's something that we'd only put that on very special areas that we need very much locked down.
Yes. I guess the system's good if there's enough people monitoring it, right? So if something doesn't match, how many people are really monitoring this to make an initial inquiry to investigate it immediately, right?
Yes. So very similar to the camera system we have, there's alert warnings that would come up. One of Julian's staff members has access to the system, makes changes, they get alerts. So every time you log in, you're going to there's been 10 alerts. This is happening.
So the alerts would go out immediately, right? So there's someone on staff immediately to notice this alert, correct?
So we could integrate this with, currently we have a sheriff over here. If we continue with the sheriff or have another security person, they could actually have access into that same system and see the same rejection notices or some type of a warning that a door's been held open for too long. We could actually give that access to the same security person.
But there's someone there immediately that can take care of it or investigate it, correct?
So today, we have a sheriff that would do that with the
Okay.
camera. Marti has the cameras up all the time. We could integrate that same thing with the access controls.
I mean, I would think so. I mean, it sounds like a great system in the times that we in right now, but to make sure we have someone monitoring it, really instantly to make that change, because once they enter, it's a done deal, So just wanted to make sure that was covered. I mean, if we're going to spend this type of money.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the Justice Center would be, the prime example of it, with someone stationed in the main control room of that building, constantly looking at the cameras, and they would likely get some kind of notification if there's any issue with doors and whatnot. Be able to refer to one of the cameras that should integrate with this new system, and kind of point to that specific location. if there's an
So
issue.
I do have another question really quick. I think it's fascinating on these type of systems, right, where we are today. So if someone would breach the area and you do find it like immediately, does the camera kind of follow that person through? Because you see it on TV sometimes that some of these cameras like follow the suspect, say.
This camera system that we have currently has AI technology built into it. So if we had a bag put down, we had a bag that was put down in the front, we actually said, hey, who put this bag down? The camera system will actually take that query, integrate it, and identify when the bag was put down, but it's by the difference in, okay, there was no bag, now there's something there. And then you can pull back and see this person put it down and say, where was this person 5 minutes ago? It'll follow them through the building to the parking lot and go forward. You'd have that same integration with the access controls. I actually had the benefit of seeing this system in action at the Global Security Exchange Conference 2 weeks ago. They had the demonstration there where we were able to see people go through. And we've had to search on the camera system before to find a person, like I said, to put a bag down. You have the ability to search for missing children. If a child comes in with the person, you can identify, well, this person the child came in with a red top and blue pants. A man in all blue walked in with them. A man in all white walked out with them. We could track everyone through that building.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions?
All right, thank you. So we're going to move on to the other assets. We're going to do this a little bit differently. It's a little complex because we have a lot of different departments asking for different assets. So the ones that have asked for the most, if you wouldn't mind these directors coming and sitting at the front table, make it easier. I think you know who you are: Julian, Tim, Chris, and Jay. Daniel, you're at the end, and you just can come to the lectern because you just have one.
Okay, which ones are we going through?
Okay, so we're gonna start with vehicles.
Okay.
So we're just gonna, I think, go through the list.
All right, vehicles would be.
We'll start with CIO. So we're just gonna go through it and we'll talk about facilities, environmental
We're
service.
going to talk about,
Can y'all press the buttons
press
to
those
request
two
to talk?
buttons.
Please.
Thank you. Oh, okay, all right. First is vehicles, CAO office. Gina?
This is just a pool vehicle for the CAO office, mainly to be used by the legislative liaison so she can get safely back and forth to Baton Rouge. The vehicle that she was using kept breaking down on the side of the road.
Have you considered what the mileage, if we paid mileage instead of a new vehicle?
We're paying mileage for her right now because she's too scared to drive in the vehicle anymore, and it's getting to be quite costly. We think it would be much cheaper to get this small vehicle and do it that way, because it'll be used by other departments as well.
Okay, can you send us that estimated mileage?
For her?
For a year, yes.
Sure.
Mr. Laughlin?
Oh, never mind, you took my question from me.
Okay, facilities. Okay, we have replacement for a vehicle at the Justice Center.
Yes. So Vehicle is 27 years old with almost 200,000 miles on it. Just looking to replace that unit and upgrade to a newer version.
Okay, and Coop Drive.
Similar situation. You know, the age of the vehicle is 27 years old, over 200,000 miles.
Okay.
What are those vehicles used for?
So the one at Coop Drive is used for obviously doing work around the complex here, but they also do work in other areas of the parish, the Bush Community Center, Towers Building, other areas on the east side of the parish. The one for the Justice Center, you know, that group oversees the multiple different buildings in Covington, and it's also used as for an on-call individual. Yes.
Mr. Rowland?
One quick question. I know we're talking vehicles, and that's a chunk of money, right? So, and I think the public wants to know, do we really need that vehicle, right? What happens to the vehicles we have now? Does it go to like auction? Does it, is there a surplus company that comes in and just takes them at a certain value?
Yes, I believe so. They do go to surplus and they're auctioned off.
Okay. So the vehicles in question will all be done at the same time?
It depends on the time of the replacement. So if we're able to replace these both at the same time, then yes, they would both go. If not, then they would be in separate surplus auctions.
Okay, so once those are auctioned off, where's that money going? General fund, or is it going to the departments, or?
Redo it.
It depends on which fund paid for the truck, so it goes back wherever the truck was paid for from.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
I do appreciate the council keep asking for everything to go back to general fund. But apparently that is not the situation.
We have an eye on it.
It follows wherever it was paid from, okay? Thank you so much for your effort.
Right.
Okay, one thing, I think for a number of years I've asked for some kind of replacement plan. Here's our vehicles. Here's what we have, here's the age, here's the mileage, and some kind of replacement plan by years, supposedly. Is that out of the question? I think I've asked for this for a number of years. I don't know who would do that, but, okay?
Yeah, so what were you asking
Well,
again?
you know, every year we get hit with new vehicles, okay? I think the council needs, here's our vehicles, here's how old they are, here's the department they're in, and here's when we expect a replacement, or something to that, so we can gather over the years before it happens, how many we look to replace every year, okay? If we could, it doesn't have to be today or whenever, but in the future, if we can get that, maybe starting next year, so we know what's out there and looking at how old they are and what is needs to be replaced. Okay.
Like a 10-year plan?
That would work. Mr. Corbett, you have a?
No, that's what I was going to offer.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, any more questions on facilities? Environmental services. Mr. Brown.
Yes, ma'am. We're just requesting to replace our 12-passenger litter abatement van. It's just kind of aged out. We're having a lot of repair issues with it.
Okay. Mr. Impostata.
What's the difference between a $40,000 light-duty truck and a $50,000 light-duty truck?
Is that directed at me?
Anybody, I don't know. I mean, I see one is 40,000 for facilities, and then there's several at 50,000, which has the same description as one extra cab, or what's the difference?
So they're for different departments, so
But it should
we'll
still
have
cost
to.
the same.
but some of them have different packages.
Correct. I was going to say, I think that, and I don't have the information in front of me as far as all the different light-duty vehicles or even medium-duty or heavy-duty vehicles that are being requested by the different departments, but I do know that sometimes we're looking at a two-door vehicle that's not really looking to transport many staff members, but you need a long bed to have survey equipment in, or any other kind, shovels, rakes, any kind of equipment. Other vehicles, we're looking to have more of a four-door vehicle to get a group of people to places. So there's different options with the vehicles, so they're not always the same.
Thank you, Jay.
And some of them need toolboxes, some of them need light bars.
Correct. And so the way that, so Fleet services all of the departments within St. Tammany Parish government, and so Ricky Bowling is our fleet manager, and so he meets with the different departments as well as Public Works to go over the needs for the department that they're requesting, and then he looks on the state contracts and gets the quotes for the particular piece of equipment that we're looking for.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Lawford?
Yeah, to build on Mr. Impastato's, could we get with him to just make sure, understand the justification for the pickups and what kind of pickups y'all need versus, and I'm assuming you need them, it's just, it would be nice to be able to answer someone's question, like, why couldn't you have a Toyota Corolla? So we need to be able to answer that. Thank you.
Mr. Kugel?
Thank you. Mr. Brown, so the replacement van for the litter abatement crew, is that Keep St. Tammany Beautiful also uses that, or that's
correct?
And so they go around to actually cite people for litter violations?
No, this is the crew that actually goes out on a daily basis to pick up trash.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so it's a 12-passenger van, so they have a trailer as well, or what? Okay.
That's correct. They have a trailer.
Are you going to use the old trailer? Or are you going to get a new trailer?
Oh, no, we're going to use the old trailer. We're not asking for a new trailer.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Next is utilities. Mr. Tissue, I think you have about 4 items.
Yes, ma'am. So it's just water and wastewater crews replacing some trucks that are aged out. They're either excessively in age. I think one of them was totaled out. And so we got one of those totaled, and then we've got 3 that are either over like 180,000 miles or 20 years of age, somewhere along that lines.
Any questions? Okay, Department of Public Works, Mr. Watson.
Yeah, so we have several pieces of equipment. If you'd like, I could just go.
Can we do vehicles first, and then we'll do the other? We're trying to keep it topical.
Okay. So on the vehicle side, we have one heavy-duty vehicle with a service body. This is replacing a unit at the fleet maintenance barn that's at the end of its useful life, and that's for $99,000. We have one light-duty truck for $48,500, replacing a unit at Hickory Barn that's at the end of its useful life. We have a medium-duty truck for $59,000, replacing a unit at Brewster Barn that's at the end of its useful life. And I believe that's all the
I think
trucks.
you have an airport barn for $40,000 to clean and clear ditches.
Yeah, so that's not a truck, but it's
Okay.
it's a utility vehicle. So this is a different piece of equipment that we don't currently own.
Okay.
It's going to provide a different service. Councilman Corbin, one example that we ran into this was clearing kind of a medium to larger size lateral. A lot of times there's larger vegetation or trees that are in this lateral, but we have an access point at one end or the other of a lateral, and it might be a mile long. So where we need to clear stuff out down a lateral, this is kind of it's like an amphibious 6-wheeled vehicle that can get into wet and muddy areas but not get stuck, that we'd be able to use to bring the vegetation back out to locations that we can provide that service. So it's to help us to be able to maintain more of our laterals. And I think that's all of the one other maybe truck that we could say is a trash truck conversion. We have a large tow truck that doesn't really fit the needs. We don't use it often, and we do have 2 debris vehicles that we pick up random debris in the right of way, or during storms we use it. But so we were looking to convert that vehicle to a trash truck as well. and I believe we have $150,000 in the budget to convert that over to a trash truck. I think those are going for around $400,000 new. So we thought we could get some cost savings by taking a underutilized piece of equipment in our fleet and converting it to a trash truck.
Mr. Laughlin?
Jay, are you just swapping the body out on it, basically,
Yeah, so
or the bed?
it's the frame and the bed on the rear would be swapped out for the box with the grapple arm that picks up the debris.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mr. Carver?
Yeah, Jay, I think it's a good thing to go do, but is it converting a 2005? Is that that seems...
So...
we're getting rid of things that are more than 20 years old.
Correct, but we don't have a lot. So I think it's a good approach to look at the years of service that the vehicle has on it, but also if it hasn't been getting a lot of hours on it as well, then it's a fairly new piece of equipment that we thought was a good value, and it still wasn't worn out and at the end of its useful life, even though it is older in age, in years.
Okay, because all we have is it's a 2005 and no mileage or no hours utilization.
And I can get that additional information if you want.
I have confidence in your ability to make the assessment. I just wanted to make sure it just kind of jumped out compared to changing out some that are 2015s due to age, wear, and hours further up the page, and then we're going to come down and... Right,
and so what we looked at with this was that since it hadn't been used, it had a lot of life left in it, the body of the truck is still good. It made sense. The other option would be to surplus it, and you're going to get pennies on the dollar for surplusing the vehicle as opposed to maybe taking it and converting it to this and not having to purchase another $400,000 trash truck.
Mr. Laughlin?
And Jay, I imagine in the future, to build on my colleague's point, in the future, the back will still be good, and you can swap out the truck. Like we used to do that when I worked on the ambulance crews. We would, the ambulance portion was old, but the new Econo body was new. They would switch out the modules.
And so we do have 2 trash trucks in our fleet right now, and they are both getting towards the end of their useful life. So I think once we finally got to the end with one of those, I don't know if we would be able to do the same conversion on it, because the front end of it would be used as well. But yes, that's kind of what we're looking at here. Since we've got a good body and frame for it to sit on, we're looking to convert it.
Gotcha.
Jay, if we can, on our list, the next thing we have is the dump trucks for the Keller and Trace maintenance.
Yes. So these are 2-yard dump trucks. They're very small dump trucks. They're not typical dump trucks that we use for ditching, but they have, I believe it's like a Dodge Ram body on the front. They're a 4-door dump truck, and this allows, one of them is for the trace. So it's a smaller dump truck. We'd be able to get it onto the trace, get it into smaller areas. The same thing with the Keller barn. Many of our other barns have these dump trucks already. And so it's when we're going out to do maybe a pothole patching crew, or somebody else is going out to work in a particular area on drainage, we're able to load up a crew of guys into the truck and then go out and perform the work. It's not necessarily a big 6 or 12-yard dump truck that we've got an excavator, cleaning ditches and hauling material. It's more of moving a small amount of materials, tools, and staff members to be able to go get to the jobs that we're getting at. And I'll explain any further on this, or if you want to just run down how y'all's list is.
Let's do that, and then y'all just stop us if you have any questions. Next, I have excavator with attachments, 4 of those.
Yes, so we have 4 excavators with attachments. These are smaller. I think they're John Deere 75G. It's our smaller excavators on the range, but these are typically used in our ditching operations. I believe 3 of these excavators are replacing old excavators that are at the end of their useful life. And then the 1 excavator at our bush barn, they didn't have an excavator to fill this need, so it's a new excavator for them.
Councilman Phillips.
Excuse me. You're saying they're replacing. Is it better, even though you're replacing it, to hold on to the old device in case the other one breaks? You can keep it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So our fleet department looks at it as a whole, since they're servicing all of our barns. And while the barn itself, the excavator is old, so we're going to replace it, or we're proposing to replace it, what our fleet department will do is they'll go, okay, so we've got 3 different excavators that we're looking to replace. They typically keep 1 or 2 as a rotating loaner from our fleet in case they have to work on an excavator around at the barns. So they'll evaluate the condition of all 3 of those excavators and evaluate it relative to the loaner excavators that they have in the fleet department. If those are nicer than the loaners, then we'll surplus the loaners and we'll take these old ones and replace them as our loaner excavators. If these are all worse than our loaner excavator, then we'll surplus all 3 of them.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Corbett?
This raises, this, I guess, is, supports Madam Chair's request for a long-term plan. It seems interesting that 3 of these that are being replaced, one's a 2003, a 2007, and a 2015. That's a pretty big year span.
Yeah.
Is that, I mean, is it fundamentally Bush does not really need one because they're replacing one that's from 2003 versus something from Highway 59? They're using theirs extensively because it's a 2015.
We need one. Don't even go there.
You are correct. So it really comes down to out in the field how often they're getting used. Some of them they've stretched the life out longer. I'd have to go back and look at the hours. You know, there's more to the story than just the year age, but it comes down to how often. And you know, some of these pieces of equipment are different model years. Some of the model years you have more problems with them. Some of them run better, and you know, they're just coming down to the needs of the barn, and for whatever reason, the 2015 one, I can go dig into it further to see if it had excessive hours over the last 10 years as opposed to the other barns that maybe got 20 years out of them, or why it's coming up. But you are correct on the ages.
Okay, I mean, I just think that again, that some kind of bigger spreadsheet that looks at it more holistically. You may find, for example, if someone barn's not using it very often, that they'd be good to swap with on a regular basis, so that you're getting use across, because hoses and rubber pneumatic parts and things are going to wear just because of age. Other things wear because of use.
For sure.
And so you might want to think about a more like I said, a more holistic approach of looking at that is moving those around and swapping pieces now and then because somebody uses a lot and somebody uses a little bit, to try to get more even wear. But just as a thought, Jay.
And we do evaluate that across the barn to where we try and get the equipment to the places where they're using it the most.
Okay. So I'm interested in what this next one does. A loader swivel?
Swivel loader.
Swivel loader, okay.
So these, we have, I believe, 8 of them across the barns. We use them every day, day-to-day basis to load sand, aggregate, any kind of materials that we're taking out to a job site. We started purchasing these several years ago. I think we've purchased 3. We might have none already. This might be the 10th one. But we have one at every barn, and they've been particularly useful on a daily basis loading materials, but they double as well during any kind of an event or storm when we need to push the roads. We used them definitely in the ice storms earlier this year, the snowstorm. We were able to ride this equipment on the road and break up the ice, move the snow. So they kind of double benefit for us on a day-to-day basis, moving materials in our operations, and then on a debris emergency basis, they get the lion's share of the work done out on the roads.
Next is 3 mower boom mowers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have boom mowers and we have side mowers. The boom mowers have the longer arm and they're able to get down into the ditch. This is a replacement, I believe, of 3 boom mowers that are at the end of their useful life. Showing one from 2005, one from 2002, and one from 2006. So, you know, they've got a lot of moving parts on them, and they get used, you know, for the better part of 8 to 10 months out of the year. So this is just replacing existing equipment at the end of its useful life.
Mr. Laughlin.
Jay, where are we? I know this year, it was either this year or last year, we experimented with contracting out a lot of the grass cutting.
So we've been contracting out a a portion of the grass cutting every year. We have increased the grass cutting on a lot of the more maybe connector roads, the larger parish roads on Sharp Road, Lonesome Road, Harrison Avenue. We have a slight increase in the grass cutting budget for this year, but we kind of kept it more at a standstill this year. But so we do have a balance between what the parish cuts and then what we have contracted out.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Corbett.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I still have one more question. Do you guys, how do you track utilization of vehicles? Do you track it in Munis? Do you track it in the hours, the years, the maintenance things that are done to it? Well, my example is, I go to the same place to get my oil changed. They track everything that gets done to my cars and can print out everything that's been done to it for the life of the vehicle that I've had it there. Do you have a database that you use in Munis to do something similar?
Yeah, we track, our fleet department tracks all the oil changes and the maintenance that we do on it.
So when they replace parts, when there's wear and tear, they also take an hour, like for example, when it comes in for maintenance, you do an hour stamp to say it came in on this date, the hours were this, like we're doing mileage on other vehicles?
Yes.
Would it be, can I get an example of that sometime? Just
Yeah.
just to take a look at how you guys are looking at that. That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, next is one skid steer with attachments. As you can see, I have no idea what these things are.
So a skid steer is like a thing, yeah.
Oh, okay.
A Bobcat, it's got tracks on it, it's a smaller one-man machine in a cab. You can typically put a bucket or a mower deck on the front. There's auger, there's a bunch of different attachments you can put on the front of these machines. It is replacing one that is at the end of its useful life at the North Fritchie barn.
Next to 20-ton trailers.
Yes, so we have two 20-ton trailers, one at 59 barn and again one at Fritchie North. And these are, I believe they're both new, if not.
Yes.
Okay, so they're both new. What we have, we've got a number of pieces of equipment that we load onto trailers, and then we've got the trailers. Right now at the barns, these two in particular, they've requested two new trailers so that they don't have to share the trailer and wait for another piece of equipment to go load, unload, come back, and have this trailer. So they're trying to just be more efficient.
There's also a jet trailer.
Yes, so a jet trailer is, it's a smaller piece of equipment than we've got jet trucks. We've got a big jet vac truck that has a big tank on it. This is a jet trailer. It's a smaller piece of machinery that we can pull behind like the 2-yard dump trucks or any of our other trucks, but we bring it out to blow out culverts. And I believe this is replacing one that
Hickory
let's see,
Barn.
Hickory Barn. and I think-
2001.
Yes, 2001. Yeah, I knew it was kind of old, but those get used very regularly.
We already talked about the trash truck conversion, and then so we have now facilities, 3 mowers, 0 turn.
Yeah, so these 3 mowers are for Safe Haven. They have about, give or take 1,000 hours of use each year. Those units that we have out there, I believe they're grasshoppers, constantly needing repairs. We typically have at least one of them down, at any given time. And being that, with the budget constraints for that complex, we're having to do all the grass cutting in-house. So, the guys are constantly on these units. Obviously, things are kind of slowed down a little bit at this time of the year, but during the summer, it's just a constant rotation. So, looking to replace those, hopefully with some Kubotas, as they tend to last a little bit longer and just be a better product.
Mr. Impostana?
Have we not looked at contracting out the grass cutting at Safe Haven?
We have, and we did have a contract in place for a portion of the complex, not the entirety of it, but we had to cut it just due to the budget constraints for that facility, and now we're doing everything in-house.
So it costs less to do it in-house than to contract it out? We've analyzed that?
We can look a little bit further into it, but that's what I was told when I stepped in here, so.
Okay, and Jay, how many jet trucks do we have for the parish?
Jet trucks.
The things that blow out the culverts.
So we've got maybe 8 or so, I think. We try and get them. We did have 1 per area, but they were definitely the barns. You know, we've got 3 to 5 barns per area for 12 barns. We were sharing too often, and we were too often, you know, one barn had to wait on the other barn to use it. So we were trying to have 1 of these jet trailers at each barn, so that when they needed to go blow a culvert out, they had that ability.
So with this, will we have one at 59 and at Keller? They'll have their own?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
So that's all the motorized equipment?
I have a question.
Oh, sure.
Safe Haven, where's that money coming from?
So we talked earlier about the lease income and that it's in the high $500,000, $600,000 range. I think the expenditure budget is probably in the $1.5 to $1.6 million range. So the difference is coming from the general fund.
Okay, I'm sure that will be talked about later. Thank you. Mr. Laughlin.
Yes, Madam Chair, if it's not, I would like to know too for the next time, if it's for another meeting, like where are we with Safe Haven? Are we in the red or are we in the black, so to speak? So if it's more appropriate for another meeting, I can wait.
I think we're
doing facilities there. We were doing facilities, but Annie just said that the rental is about $600,000 and the total expenditure is about $1.6 million. So we are using our general fund. It's not paying for itself.
I definitely think that will be somewhere in the budget talks when we look at individual budgets. Okay, thank you. All right.
We're going to move on to just our other capital equipment. We'll start with engineering with Daniel. Yeah, we just need Daniel and Jay for this last one.
Okay. Survey equipment.
Yes, so it's like a 20 unit. I'm trying to think of the best way to explain this. So your survey crew usually has your guy on your equipment, which are total station shooting grades, and we always call him the rod man, the guy that holds the pole out in the survey crew. So this guy on the survey crew, what happens is say you come to the end of a culvert. The survey crew has to take time, dig out the end of the culvert, put the rod into the culvert, and you know, they don't sit at a right angle on it. So that's back calculations and the equipment all on field. Well, what this does is increases productivity, so they can skip all those steps, more or less put the rod, taking the measurements at any angle. It auto adjusts all in the computer systems. So I mean, you're looking at a pretty substantial productivity increase. You know, lets them get more surveying done. Survey crew would greatly appreciate it because it's not as much physical labor on their end, clearing out the end of culverts. But it's definitely improvement. I do want to make a note, though, that the surveying crew is not directly under the Department of Engineering anymore. We did a shift to Public Works. So just a little bit background. So we looked at the work coming in. We have one survey crew, 2 guys on a survey crew in the parish. About half of their work demand was coming from requests from Public Works, and then the other half was from engineering. Engineering's kind of was big picture stuff. Go survey an entire subdivision, go survey this. Where Public Works was asked were more, hey, can you get out right now and go take a look at this? So engineering was kind of working at the facilitator on that, the middleman to the survey crew. So we said maybe it'd be best housed if the survey crew's under Public Works, they can control the day-to-day, and we can still present them with the big picture stuff that they can go pick up for us on jobs. So we just think it's again a productivity boost. Yeah. Pretty straightforward.
Thank you.
Next is the cross alert signals.
Yes, so this is for the Tammany Trace. We have the cross alert signals, you know, at various different intersections across the parish. You know, the Tammany Trace goes from Slidell to Covington. The original cross alerts that were installed when the trace came to be, the company no longer services them. They're obsolete. So kind of along the same lines of what Grant was saying earlier, I believe, where they're not able to get parts or service for them. We're having that same problem with these cross alerts. So we're looking to replace the existing cross alert system that is obsolete now.
Mr. Smith?
Yeah, Annie, for these signals, can that be used with Sales District 3 money?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next is the fuel tank dock.
So fuel tank dock, this is the third installation of a fuel tank dock, and it'll be at the Hickory Barn. We've currently completed installation of a 5,000 gallon diesel and a 5,000 gallon gas tank at our 59 barn. And we are in the process, the contractor has been selected, and I think he's actually fabricating the tanks for our airport barn to have 5,000 gallon gas and diesel there as well. And this will be the third installation of 5,000 gallons of gas and 5,000 gallons of diesel at the Hickory Barn. I would like to continue to purchase and install larger fuel tanks at all of our barns. We really kind of go paycheck to paycheck on gas. As soon as we have, I want to say it's 1,000 gallon tanks, maybe 500 gallon tanks at all of our barns, and so we live week to week emptying these tanks and putting in fuel orders as we're running out to fill back up again. So this is getting us the extra capacity to not have to put weekly fuel orders in, and then in the case of an emergency where we have a storm and there's any delays or disruptions in the service of getting fuel, this buys us additional time to be able to keep our equipment running, to be able to service the parish during those critical times. So that's what we're looking to do here. It's worked well at the first installation at Highway 59, and I believe it's going well at Airport Barn as well, and so we're looking to replicate this for a third time. That'll give us our 3 different areas across the parish will all have one barn that has a beefed up fuel capacity right now.
Mr. Phillips?
I think that's a great idea. If you do that, do you have to coordinate anything with the fire departments? Could you have all this extra fuel?
I don't know the details on that, but our contractor's been making sure that he's following all the regulations on a lot of the. He's making sure he's following all the regulations that we have. I don't know them offhand.
And then those new lights you want for the crossovers or crosswalks, would you be buying a lot of extra parts so we have them in case they don't service them again? I mean, I know they've been out for like, I get complaints about it all the time on Sharp Road and that, so.
Yeah, so I would definitely work with the contractor to make sure that any of the more commonly used parts, we do have an inventory of them. That way we can service them and make sure that they stay up to date.
Okay, and last but not least, the vehicle lift, 18,000 pound. There is a correction on y'all's sheets. It's $39,000, not $395,000. Thank you, Annie.
Perfect. That's a
good way to go. Yeah.
Good catch. Good catch. Yeah. So this is for our fleet department over at Tyler Street. This is the 18,000 pound lift. I believe it's at the end of its useful life. The guys use the lifts when they're servicing all of the vehicles across the parish, whether it's oil changes or tire rotations and all the other good stuff that they have to do with the vehicles.
Mr. Corbett?
Yeah, Jay, again, going back to that spreadsheet, do you guys look at, I just keep thinking of other ideas about it. Do you look at that monthly or quarterly with each of the barns and see what their utilization of equipment is? Like something that comes to mind is last year we bought 2 spider, you only asked for 1 spider, we wound up buying 2. I don't know if they've arrived even yet. And
yes, they have arrived. We got them, I believe, in the middle of August.
Okay, and what's their utilization? It'd be interesting to know see, you guys look at that on a semi-regular basis, more than annually.
Yeah.
To go look at what the utilization is on pieces of equipment and be able to move it around.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks. Anyway, so when you send me that sheet, that example, if you give me just kind of, this is how we use this, I'd be interested in understanding that. Thank you very much.
Mr. Phillips?
Jay, you were asked about grass cutting. Who's actually doing the grass cutting now at Beat Airport? Is that FBO part, or is that somebody for facilities? I have to talk about that.
I believe Julian might have an answer.
Yeah, we have that contracted out, forget the name of the company off the top of my head.
Thank you.
Yeah, we currently have a bush hogging contract in place. It was RCL before, but the new company, it's kind of a small group. I'll have to get back to you with the name of them.
I was just curious. The FBO doesn't take care of that.
They do not. No, we cover that. We cover that cost, and it's
Okay.
included in the budget that we have for the airport.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, any more questions? Okay, at this time, I'd like to thank all the department heads for taking their time. Gina, thank you. For being here, and all the councilmen, and we are going to recess for lunch and continue at 1 o'clock. Thank you. St. Tammany Parish Government versus Warren, Montgomery, and others, which is jail, whoever. And at this time, I'll ask for a motion and a second. Okay, so moved. Do we have to vote?
Yes, let's just do verbally.
All right.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Rowling?
Yes.
Ms. Casabon?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Impastato?
Yes.
Ms. Tanner?
Yes.
Mr. Corbin?
Yes.
Mr. Burke? Mr. Kugel? Mr. Laughlin? The motion passes.
Okay. We are recessed. Everyone stay. I'm going to ask the council and attorneys, please, take no action regarding the executive session. Our next presentation is by the facilities management. Let's turn you on.
Can y'all press the number?
Press your maps, your little buttons.
There you go.
Daniel, press your little button. Okay. Thank you.
All righty. We're going to start with the Fairgrounds Master Plan. We currently have, we're in progress with the first phase of the master plan, and looking to prepare for additional funds for boundary surveys, to find locating utilities, easements, and right now, you know, the current project just kind of deals with the conceptual design for, you know, for build out, for branding, wayfinding, landscaping. So just kind of looking to prepare for future funding needed to establish the utility surveys for the fairgrounds. This photo that's included here is just kind of, we're just at the preliminary stages with our consulting firm, and this is kind of what they came up with as far as, you know, a new layout for buildings, as well as an entrance pathway and a new kind of more open green space on the campus there.
All right, Mr. Corbett?
Yeah, Julian, can we get a copy of the scope of work of the current plan?
Sure.
Of the current study that's ongoing, that this would be additive to?
Yes, absolutely.
And what's the period of performance for the current study?
I believe we gave them 6 months.
Starting
last month.
So in the first month of their study, they realized they needed more money?
Yeah, well, it wasn't necessarily included in the scope that was provided to them for
Okay.
the utility surveys and all.
Okay, so if we can get a copy of what that scope is on the original?
Sure.
And what was the value of the original contract?
It's, I believe 105,000.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Ms. Casabon?
Yes, I knew, did we still in this master plan have any, are we, in other words, I guess I need to ask administration that, are we going to leave the barn there? At one point, they were going to incorporate that into the fairgrounds, as part of that.
Which barn? The Public Works barn?
The existing Covington barn.
So Public Works is planning on building a new barn towards the back of their part of the property.
Okay, on the
And they're gonna
same
be-
site?
Yes, on the
Oh,
same
okay,
site. And they're going to be
okay.
taking down the existing building.
Okay, and then they were going to be able to incorporate that in for some trailer, whatever. Okay.
Yeah, we might be able to gain some additional space for the fairgrounds area once that relocation takes place for Public
Okay.
Works.
Okay.
I knew the administration had talked about that at one point, and I didn't know if that would be on this master plan. Okay,
It's
thank
not
you.
included here, but that is in the works as well.
Okay.
Mr. Phillips?
How much is covered, enclosed? Is it just that square area by the green?
It is, so it's everything that's green there, as well as the kind of northern part of that, of the circle, or the, egg-shaped circle up there. But we'll also, so directly above where that water tower is, I guess, to the right of that, that's kind of some additional space that we'll be looking to incorporate from Public Works that they may be able to give up for the fairgrounds to expand a little bit more. We may be looking to add some RV parking and stuff like that in that area.
Okay, now the arena, is it prepared? I know at one time there was controversy because I call them horse people, they had a problem with the dirt and putting their horses on that. Has that been changed?
The dirt is, as far as I know, satisfactory now. They had a consultant come out and kind of teach our guys how to prepare the dirt and maintain it and everything
Okay.
like that. And we've had the barrel racers, who usually are the ones that are particular about the dirt. They have events out there almost once a month
Okay.
nowadays, and we haven't had any complaints.
Apparently it's good and everything is
Yes.
going great. Okay,
Yep.
thank you. Okay, you can continue with your
Okay.
next.
Next up on the list is the replacement of the roof at the Fair Annex building, which the Friends of the Library currently occupy this building. This roof is well beyond its life expectancy, and we have numerous repairs going on, and they're no longer effective. So we're looking to see about getting that replaced. The building is, we actually learned that the building is a modular building. It's 3 pieces put together, and it was built in 2010, but moved to this site in 2013. So requesting $60,000 to replace the roof there on that building.
Any
Questions?
questions? Okay. No questions.
All right, next up is the uninterruptible power supply, the UPS for the Justice Center. It is over 20 years old, and parts are no longer available for replacement. The vendor cannot do the 10-year inspections on it, and requesting $156,200 on that. Just a little background, so this UPS is just backup emergency power for some of the aspects of the Justice Center, including emergency lighting, the MTI system for the holding areas, the x-ray machines and metal detectors, and the server equipment, which is in a room right next door to where this is located. And it runs for about 20 minutes if there is an issue with the generator not providing power to the building.
Any questions? Okay.
Safe Haven air handler unit. This is in Quad A. The unit is more than 35 years old, and the service life is 15 to 25 years old. We have issues with this unit. It's got a broken shaft. The drain pan is totally rotten out, creating leaks. Has stress cracks in the metal above the coils. Requesting $35,000 to replace this unit. I did want to note that there are 39 other air handler units throughout these quads at Safe Haven, all of similar age. This one is certainly the worst. The other ones are, you know, they're okay for now, but this could be kind of a recurring process with some of these at Safe Haven.
Mr. Laughlin.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. What is housed in this building? What does this air handler serve?
Quad A is currently unoccupied, but it is the most recently renovated portion of the quads at Safe Haven. So we're working on trying to get a tenant in that space, but as of right now, there is no one in there.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Corbett.
Yeah, if you were going to replace the air handling units, you referenced 39 other ones. If you're going to replace the units in connected buildings, would you, and you step back and say, okay, we're going to have to replace all these, we need to bite the bullet and do it. Would you just replace this one, or would you look at a completely different, fairly, not just a different scope, not just replicating it 39 times, would you look at it differently in how you approach contracting it? My only concern is if you got 39 more that are just like this, oftentimes you can go down the path of replacing things incrementally, one at a time, and at the end of the day, you go, boy, if I'd have known I was going to replace them all, I would have really approached this differently. That's really that's the question I'm asking.
Right. Yeah, I mean, obviously, there would likely be, I guess, a cost savings in the long run if we do, you know, a larger quantity of replacement. You know, with the way things are with Safe Haven, you know, we figured we just ask for what is needed now and not necessarily what we aren't ready for yet, and be kind of reactive as opposed to proactive. But, you know, I'm certainly open to that aspect of it if we can.
I appreciate the challenge that you're facing. It's a ongoing investment in a facility we're not quite sure what we're going to do with. I think we need to have some kind of broader discussion about what is the intended use of this facility. We're buying lawnmowers for it. We're potentially buying lawnmowers. We're changing air handling units. There's a variety of other costs that are going on besides just these. Yet the use seems nominally indeterminate in some cases. Oh, Chairwoman, you agree?
I agree. And maybe we can tackle that when we look at Safe Haven's budget. Okay. Mr. Laughlin.
Yes, ma'am. Just a question. When will we be looking at Safe Haven? Is that later on today or next week?
No, next Tuesday.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay.
Next up is the control boards for the rear hydraulic elevators at the Towers building. These no longer meet modern performance, safety, and reliability standards. The boards need to be updated. And this is similar to the project that was recently done at the Justice Center. They updated the majority of the boards on those elevators at that building last year.
Any questions? Okay.
All right, the last thing I wanted to note is regarding our facilities condition assessment. This is not a request for additional funds this time, but just kind of a heads up type deal. So we currently have a contract out in routing for signatures. with PD Consulting to begin our facility conditions assessment. And, they will likely be coming back with, a plan of updating and improving some of these buildings we have. And so while this year we hadn't really requested a lot of replacements on equipment, we expect more to come after this assessment takes place.
Okay, Mr. Kugel?
Thank you. So the North Shore Technical College left the Military Road Parish facility.
Levee board building?
Yes, like a month or two ago. Do you have any plans for another tenant at this point? Are you actively looking for one?
At this time, no, not at this time.
So what are the thoughts right now what's going to be done with that building? It's still used for voting.
Yes, it is used for voting. That's the only aspect that I'm aware of right now that of any interest with it. So it just, yeah, I mean, as of right now, we don't have any plans for it, but certainly open up suggestions.
Mayor?
Yeah, and I don't know, Chris. I know Chris is always. Was there any reason for Department of Utilities to use that once the tower? Okay, that's a no. Okay, so just my thought on that. I hope we can get a tenant there as soon as possible, because it's just an empty building.
Right.
So the council office is actually responsible for all polling locations, so I'm looking to see if there's an alternate polling site in that area, if maybe that's a building, if it's worth keeping the building, if we can't find a tenant and have those costs go into the general fund. So I'm looking for alternative sites just in case we need to move that location.
Mr. Corbett?
Yeah, going back to the project, the facilities condition assessment, was that an RFP that was sent out and responded to, or was this a directed contract?
It was a not an RFP. It was requests for what do you call it? PSL.
It was because the contract's under $500,000. It's procured. We call them pick threes.
Pick threes.
It's three firms recommended, and the selection's made on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. I guess you have something else, Jeff?
No, I'm finished. Thank you.
All right. In case I missed it, what of these projects are in the budget? Are all of them in the budget except for the last one, or is the last one in the budget?
The last one was already an approved budget item last year.
Okay.
I just kind of wanted to note that we'll likely have a more plethora of requests next year for
After this
equipment replacements and stuff like that after the study takes place.
Okay, Mr. Rowland.
One last thing really quick. Your second slide, the Fairgrounds Master Plan is my district. So going back to that really quick, because I've heard some chatter a little bit in the area about it, and I didn't even really know about it until kind of getting a little bit more information after the questions I had been asked to me. What are we looking at as far as timing on this? Are we like 2 or 3 years out? I know the plan is going to happen. What does that look like in a scope? So when people start approaching me, since it's in my district, I can go ahead and feel like we can get some details to them?
Yeah, as far as actually making these changes and doing construction, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say probably 2 to 3 years out at least.
And then also, would we have some public information workshop or informational, something that the public can go to, see the plans, and then have some input?
Yeah, that actually has been put out there, and certainly, we could certainly
Okay,
incorporate
just want to
that.
make sure,
Yep.
because I'm getting some questions about it, so I'll feel educated about what the long-term looks like.
Sure,
Thank
sure,
you.
yeah, and I can, I know Councilman Corbin had requested the scope of work for this, and I
Yes,
can
that's a
get
good
that to all
idea.
you all.
Yes.
So,
Thank you.
yep.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Any other questions? Comments? Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Y'all are not awake. Second? All in favor? Say aye. We're adjourned.